Okay, guys, appreciate you being here today. Quick recap from the EKU game. Obviously, happy to win for sure. You know, anytime you win in college football, it's a blessing, and they're all hard. So it doesn't matter who they are. I'm really proud of the way our guys fought through. You know, all day, just continuing to claw and fight, continuing to believe and support each other. You know, I think that says a lot about our team. From handling adversity throughout the game, which we had plenty of that for sure, and a lot of it self-inflicted, but really happy with how we kept believing. You know, we talked about all week about doing the things that we thought were necessary to win, and really the three things were you know, turnovers. No turnovers, don't give up explosive plays on defense, and really play disciplined football. And really, to be honest, we were disappointed in all three phases of how we executed those things. So hopefully this will serve as a learning experience for us, and you know, when you can still win and not play your best, it's always better to learn, in my opinion, from a win than losing the game. So just disappointed in how we didn't execute those three things that we talked about all week. We had a great week of practice, but for whatever reason we didn't carry that over to Saturday. I thought we played well in spurts, a little bit up and down, roller coaster, really in all three phases of the game, and that's something we've got to get corrected, obviously, this week, because we're going to play a good opponent this week for sure. You know, obviously I said earlier we didn't play our best, but really the thing I took out of that was last year I think we had 3 or 4 games that came down the last drive of the game, and we weren't able to win the football game. So this year we did that. We executed the 2-minute drive there at the end, and Evan kicked the field goal to win the football game. So I think that's a big confidence builder for our team as we move forward. For sure for Evan, who went out there and calmly knocked through a 47-yard field goal to win it. So I think those are good things we can take from this game. And I think really happy for how Evan Lagasse really handled that situation. Just he stayed calm, cool, and collective. Also proud of the way the offense handled the 2-minute drive there. I mean, those are things we work on every week, and it was really pleasing to see us execute that there at the end when we needed it most. Players of the game this week, offensively, Kamani Vidal. He had 13 carries for 143 yards and a touchdown. Also caught a pass for 12 yards. Was really good in pass protection again. Really pleased. I mean, the last 2 weeks he's been unbelievable for us. Young player that's continuing to improve each time out. Got a really bright future here. Excited for him. Defensively, Javon Solomon, he had 3 tackles, but he had 1 TFL, which was huge. He also had a big sack at one point when those guys were on the fringe of the red zone. He had 4 pressures, so he's very disruptive. And Javon probably played the best game he's played since he's been here. He's a young player, redshirt freshman. Really pleased with how he's progressing, and he showed why he's going to be a really good player as this thing plays out in his career. Special teams, obviously Evan Lagasse is our special teams player of the week. 47-yard field goal, also perfect on PATs. And coming off our last game, you know, being able to execute, and we improved with our operation time and the field goal and PATs, the snap, the hold. The protection up front was much better. So those are things we really spent some time on this week, and it really paid off there at the end. Our scout team players of the week, Carson Burt for the offense. Carson's a young offensive lineman from Fort Payne, Alabama, who's actually a walk-on here, who I think has a really bright future and will play for us one day. And just a great kid, great attitude. Keyshawn Swanson, another kid that walked on here, and I see him all the time over with the offense playing safety for the scout team. And you know, he's a guy that always has a great energy, smile on his face, tries to give us the best look he can. So excited about him. Christian Murphy on the special teams, a guy that just gives great effort every time we ask him to do something. We're actually moving him to a different spot this week over in the secondary, so he may even get some reps with the 1 or 2 defense. So excited about that. These 3 guys, along with all our other scout team guys, and they do a great job. Some of those guys are scholarship players, some are walk-on players. They're all a mix. It just depends on their role. But the better your scout team can be, the better it helps you prepare for each week. And as we move on to Georgia State, their head coach, Sean Elliott, and I are pretty good friends. I like him. He does a great job. He's an O-line guy by trade, has that in his background, kind of done that his whole career at App State, at South Carolina, and now as the head coach at Georgia State. And you can see his teams, they kind of go to his personality as an O-line guy. His teams play very physical up front. They're going to run the ball downhill, and obviously throw it as well, but really they're going to hang their hat on running the football and very well coached. They'll play extremely hard. They play fast as well, so that's something that, our defense sees quite a bit with us, so hopefully that'll help us. But last year they got downhill on us in the run game, and going in that game we had played really good run defense, and we were very disappointed when we left that game of how we defended the run. They had a huge night, so we got to get that corrected and challenge our guys to meet that physicality and to be where they're supposed to be. If you look back at that game, we didn't fit it right many a times. We got knocked out of our gap, so it's going to be a point of emphasis for us for sure. Offensively, I think it starts for them with their big line up front. I mean, those 5 guys are going to try to get movement at the point of contact, really good with double teams. They run zone scheme and gap scheme, so you got both aspects of that you have to deal with their run game. But they want to control the line of scrimmage and run downhill, and I think that's something we have to have a great plan for. We have to match their physicality. We have to be gap sound, make sure we're fitting it right. They run enough option too, where you better have a guy on dive, quarterback, and pitch. And those are things we didn't do well last year. So we got a huge week of preparation to get ready for this challenge. Good thing is we do get them at home. These guys are averaging about 250 yards rushing a game. I think that's 9th nationally. So huge challenge for us, and we'll challenge our defense to meet that this week. They also have a new quarterback, Cornelius Brown, I'm pretty familiar with, a kid from Alabama. He's doing a nice job doing what they ask him to do. Kind of a dual threat guy, long, athletic guy. They use him a lot in the run game, but he can hurt you throwing the football as well, as you can tell from their last game when the shootout they had against Arkansas State. Wide receiver-wise, Sam Pinkney is a big athletic young guy. I know last year, pretty sure he was a young freshman last year. You can tell he's improved tremendously, big and athletic, got really good ball skills, does a great job on the 50-50 balls. He's a big rangy target, so we got to have a plan for him. And they have a couple good running backs that they use similar to us, rotate in there. So big challenge for us. What they present offensively, we'll have to execute a lot better than we did last week to have an opportunity to win. Defensively, they're very physical up front. They're front 7. They play mostly an odd front, but they will get in some even as well. I'm impressed with their safeties. That's kind of what sticks out to me. They're athletic guys that do get involved in the run game and play the ball in the air. I think as a unit, they're running to the ball and tackling very well. Y'all, as a head coach, you'd like to see that out of your own defense, that they rally around the ball and kind of play relentless. I think you see that in them. I think their linebacker, number 6, Trajan Mcqueen, is a guy. He's been there a while. I think he's a senior. He led the team in tackles in 2019. Very familiar with him, preseason all-conference, and he's first or second on their team in TFLs and interceptions. So he's very active. He does a great job. I think he gets them lined up. Looks to me like he's probably the leader of that defense. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the safeties are guys that stick out, and Antavius Lane is the one I've seen flash the most, in my opinion. Very active, very physical, plays with a lot of energy. He shows up on film all over the place. So those are some guys we've got to make sure we have a plan for blocking and know where they are on the field. But overall, I think it's an improved defensive unit, and I think they're doing a nice job there. Special teams, very solid. I think for us, hopefully we can improve there. We had penalties last week that were very, very disappointing. Did not play a disciplined game, especially in the special teams. Too many penalties in the special teams, which really negated several of our big returns and really could have flipped the game for us early. But we got to improve in that area. We got to make sure we get our opportunities when we get a chance to make a return, that we take advantage of it. So overall, we're back in conference play. I think Georgia State has already played one conference game, right? Oh, they played two conference games, so they're 1-1. Oh, my fault. Okay, sorry. But they're a really good football team. That's right. They lost a close game the other night. So, for us, being a conference game, it's important for us to keep ourselves in a great position in our conference. And I think being on the same side as these guys, we got to make sure we take advantage of it. We do get to play them here at home in the Vet, our third game in a row here at home. So we're looking forward to that. Our fans and our band, our cheerleaders, everybody's doing a great job here. So we got to continue that, and hopefully our players will have a great week of practice and be ready to go on Saturday. All right, questions?
Yeah, Coach, on Sunday after the game, you mentioned how some of the leaders stepped up to say that they need to get back to work immediately and get ready for this next game. Just curious, on Sunday and then again on Monday, if you saw something different in practice, did you see that same level of maybe attention to detail to be able to maybe put that game behind them and get ready for this week?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we practice Sunday nights. They're off days on Monday, so we didn't practice yesterday. But Sunday night, we do a light practice, kind of an introduction and corrections. And I think you saw our team was very dialed in. I think obviously we're fortunate to win the game. We understand that. We got to improve, and that's why you like leadership on your team. I do like the leadership on our team. I think we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps, and I think they understand the sense of urgency we need for this week to get ready for another good opponent. So I'm very pleased so far, and today we'll get out and practice and kind of get the Tuesday behind us, but looking forward to watching and seeing how our guys do react.
Coach, coming off a game like this, you talked about how you can play your best able now for you guys heading into this week, knowing you were able to get that even though you didn't play your best.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, it's going in and out. Something about playing our best.
I was saying, you play a game like this, you don't play your best, but you're still able to get the victory. What does that do for your team heading into this week, knowing you still got that win, even though it wasn't your best game?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for us to learn without getting a loss. So that's always huge. I do think our team was disappointed in the way we played. We're obviously very excited and fortunate to win, but we know we can play a lot better than we did last Saturday, and we need to do that because now we're going to play an opponent that definitely is somebody who will and can take advantage of that. So, I think for us, again, we focused on, since that game, kind of learning from our mistakes, trying to improve, and knowing that to reach our goals, we're going to have to play a lot better.
Coach, you mentioned up front Georgia State's physical on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Last time you kind of mentioned that opponent, it was BYU, and you weren't too impressed with how the offensive line kind of stacked up, at least communication-wise. What can you learn from that game against BYU going up against another physical front in Georgia State?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you can take some things. Now, trust me, it's a totally different animal. I mean, BYU obviously has proved that they got a good football team, but you're right. There are some similarities in the fact that both of those fronts, offensive and defensively, that we played that night, were a big physical front. So I think for our guys, it's a challenge that, hey, let's make sure we don't have any issues with communication, and let's make sure we're where we're supposed to be defensively and what gap we're supposed to be in and so forth. And I think, obviously every game you play creates experience and opportunities to learn from, and I think we did that at BYU. And hopefully that'll pay off this Saturday when we play a team that may be similar up front.
Hey, Coach Lindsey, you talked about Kamani, leading up to the season, excited y'all would be about this guy, and we heard other teammates talk about him.
Yeah.
His role has maybe continued to grow. At what point do you have a cap on what he can do every week, or him being a true freshman, do you say, well, we don't want to throw him in there too much, but this guy's averaging almost 8 yards a carry?
Yeah, no. We don't have a cap on him at all. We feel really good about – I think we basically predominantly play 4 running backs, really 3 probably the most when you talk about BJ, Kamani, Jamontez Woods, and DK. Those Billingsley, those 4 guys are kind of the guys we're rolling with, and all of them have a little different skill set, and we try to use those guys each week just depending on what the game plan is. But
I'm sure you watched the Georgia State Arkansas State game. Just being an offensive guy, seeing that many points, what was your reaction? What was your opinion on just watching that game?
Honestly, I didn't watch it, but I did. I mean, we watched the film getting ready. We just don't have a lot of time to sit around and watch games usually, but obviously I'm very familiar with both of these teams. Arkansas State, always good on offense, very explosive, athletic at wideout, and both the quarterbacks they play do a great job. And then Georgia State offensively, I saw him play fast. The quarterback looked pretty dynamic to me, and watching him this week, I think that's a factor. But I think there's 2 good offenses. If you look at the scores and the things they've done offensively this year, I think you'd be remiss to think that they're not both very good teams offensively, and they're going to present challenges no matter who they're playing.
Well, I think Derrick has done a good job since he's gotten here in January of really having an end goal in mind. Very mature young man who's very intelligent, works incredibly hard. He's a TKG through and through. We saw that in the recruiting process, and the phenomenal part is everything he's done since July of last year when he was going into his senior year of high school to this point of really changing his body, gaining weight. The young man, I think he's still growing. I tell him every day I see him, it looks like he's grown just a little bit more. But he is a young man who has really worked hard. He came in with an extreme focus on really wanting to have an impact this season for us. And so far he's played well. He'll be the first to tell you that he can play better. There's no doubt about that. But I think that would be every great player you come across is always striving to be better. But very humble young man who comes to work every day with a great attitude, plays with great passion, loves the game of football, loves Troy. And so I'm really excited about where he's put himself in position to help this team this year.
Coach Pugh, you have a plethora of guys in that backfield that are easy to run the ball. Talk about Kamani, seeing out of him and just his freshman year with this team.
You know, he's another young man who we were fortunate enough to do a great job. Brian Blackman was the lead recruiter on him and did a great job of really sealing the deal at the end for us in December. And Kamani was a young man who came to visit Troy in the summer and fell in love with Troy and had a lot of people pursuing him at the end. He held true to his word, and he's another high school player who graduated in December and was here in January. And when he got here in January, he came from a great high school program at Marietta with an incredible background in strength and conditioning and a great knowledge for the game. Hats off to those high school coaches there at his high school that prepared him for this moment. And then the good Lord blessed him with a lot of talent and a very humble young man who another TKG who's incredibly smart, who you would never know he's out there sometimes because he's quiet, but he lets his play speak for himself. And he's a young man who is so competitive. You go watch him practice every single day. He's going to be really detailed in his approach, you know, mature beyond his age, but his dynamic ability, the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, understanding protections, really just he's one of those young men when you're watching practice and then watching play in games, you find yourself just saying all the time, you know, he just does what's asked of him, and he does what he's coached to do. And then he lets his physical tools take over from there. And I think that obviously we're super excited about him and the other running backs in that room. They complement each other very well. They're a very tight-knit group, and Coach Weeks has done a phenomenal job of really asking them to improve each week. And I think that Kamani, just like Derrick we talked about earlier, but he's a young man who has a lot of potential, and I think he's just scratching the surface.
We just finished talking with Coach Lindsey a second ago, and he was hinting that things to change heading into this week. You guys can play your best on Saturday. What did you see out of the offense and improvements that need to be made heading into Georgia State?
Well, I think that last week we played the epitome of a roller coaster up and down game on offense. There's times where we get the ball and we drive 90 yards down the field and we look like the offense we're capable of being on every drive. Then there's times that we are out of sync. One guy here, one guy there, I think is the best way to put it. To play offensive football, you have to have 11 guys on the same page every play. And it's so critical for our success that we all execute. And when we do that, we're capable of being a really good offense. When we have one guy here, one guy there, not do his job, and again, we're not asking guys to do things they can't do. We're asking them to do things they've done before and be consistent with their play. And we need to continue to find some consistency in our execution. And if we can do that, which we're going to work our tails off this week to make sure that we correct the things that we did not execute properly in the game on Saturday, continue to grow and build on those things, we have the chance to be a very productive offense. And so Coach Lindsey's right. We did not play our best game on offense. We put our defense in some really bad situations in the game by turning the football over, having too many critical errors, mental mistakes, especially up front in the offensive line in some crucial situations. And so I think the biggest thing for us is to really dial our focus in, play consistent, do our job. Each and every player, coach, we've got to do our job better. And it starts with myself and our coaching staff looking at us as to how we can help put these men in the best position possible to be successful. And since the clock hit 0 and we hit the game-winning field goal on Saturday, we've been doing that as a staff, and I think that these young men have been diligent in their work as well.
The main thing I'll say is me early enrolling, I think it helped me a lot because I was able to work on my technique and get a head start in the weight room. But I'll definitely say Coach Danzy and Coach Pugh, my O-line coaches, they've always been supportive, told me about my technique and how I can get better.
How different has it been on this level? I know everybody says bigger, stronger, faster, but kind of tell us how the difference has been from the high school level, where I'm sure you were very dominant, and against these guys every week is a whole different challenge, I assume.
It's definitely more physical, but I'd say it's faster too. And like I said earlier about the technique, like you have to master your technique because your technique can put you in a better spot on the field, whether it be a first step or anything.
Can you talk a little bit more in depth about that technique, what things you've learned, and what you think you're doing really well right now to have that starting job?
Main thing as an O-lineman, well, we run a lot of wide zones, split flow. So whether it be a backside cutoff where I take a step and try to get my back shot shoulder down underneath the guy and lift, and hand placement, our coaches teach us up and under, stuff like that.
And last question from me, Derrick. When you decided on Troy, what really attracted you to the school?
Well, Troy was the first school that offered me, and I always told myself the first school that gave me a shot would have a big role in where I go. And whenever on my visits and stuff, I felt like it was very family-oriented, and I felt like I can be good on the field here and in the classroom.
Derrick, you got a guy on the offensive line who's been there for a while, Dylan Bradshaw. How has he helped you out, or what has he kind of helped you with since you?
Yeah, Dylan's he's a good guy. He's always been supportive of me, telling me what I should work on, how I should get better, and he's been here for 5 years, so he definitely has a lot of knowledge as far as like O-line technique. So it's great being on the line with him.
A lot of dominant running backs as well for you guys. What's it like blocking and opening up a hole for them out there and seeing them run for the touchdown?
It's great. We got a lot of explosive backs that can come in the game and do a lot of work. So it's really fun to block for those guys whenever seeing them run down the field after we make good plays, good blocks.
You obviously have some bloodlines with your dad playing in the NFL for so long. Do you model yourself after him as a player, do you think? And what's his influence been on you over the last year once you got to college?
Yes, sir. I definitely say he's had a big influence on me. Ever since I was little, ever since I started playing O-line, he's always been there telling me his experiences playing the game because he played at the highest level. He always gave me technique, everything. Mentality-wise, being an O-lineman, he always stressed stretching, stuff like that. Weight room, got to be strong to play O-line.
I thought we did some great things, when the offense had some turnovers, we came out, held them to 3 at times. And it's still some little things we got to clean up. But I think as a defense, we played pretty well. But obviously, we got little things, that we can work on this week. So.
You're moving on to an opponent this week that likes the score. They had a shootout this past week against Arkansas State. I think you guys worked on here for State.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we know coming in that it's a good offense, but we're up for the challenge. And, I know I've already been in the film room, watching the quarterback, mannerisms and stuff like that. But, I think we have some great players on this defense, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready for the challenge that they throw at us. So. Oh, yeah, I know Demaious Williams. He plays running back. He recently transferred from South Carolina. And also I know Blake Carroll that plays linebacker. And it's a few other guys, that's on there, but I just don't remember the name that I met, when just being in Atlanta sometimes. But it's going to be exciting just playing the home team.
What is that like for you to be able to play a team from your hometown?
It's great. They know and we know each other. From high school, and it's like just playing with each other in college. It's like all our hard work is finally paid off, and it's exciting. And I'm just looking forward to the opportunity.
I feel like we talked about him in these press conferences, but what's it like for you guys to keep the side up against Kamani today? It seems like he's impressed as a freshman.
Oh, yeah, being beside Kamani, he's a hard worker, coming in, strong kid. He works his tail off every day. And I feel like just competing against him in practice, gets us better as a team. And, he's going to be really exciting for years to come, and I'm excited for him. So.
It's been a blessing. My journey has been long. And me, last year, starting on special team, that was just the beginning. And when the coaches can see that you contribute on special teams, that just build confidence in them playing you on defense. And I just feel like I built that confidence on special teams, making plays on special teams first. And then that's just transition for me to be the starting free safety.
What do you think your number one asset is? What's your number one strength on the defensive side of the ball?
I watch a lot of film, like to try to figure out the schemes at offense and stuff like that. Communication with me and Dale also watch a lot of film together. So I feel like film study, and I'm very long as well, so my length helped me out a lot as well.
Who are some of the guys you've kind of leaned on, in that transition? There's obviously a lot of leaders on the defensive side of the ball.
Carlton, Terrence Dunlap, some of the guys that have like a lot of experience that played before with us on the Troy defense. I lean towards those guys to help me transition to being a starting safety.
Was there one area of the game that was maybe a little bit more difficult than you may have thought?
Oh yeah, communicating. Safety, you got to make all like the calls when teams are motion and stuff like that. Because when I first got here, I played corner. So corner, you wasn't really you don't have to make all the calls as much as you do at safety. So safety, you have to know where everybody has to line up for real and make all the communications.
We're 4 games into the season. Just how would you overall grade how the defense has played through the first quarter of the year?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, we're 4 games into the season. Just if you see how the defense, how do you think they played the first games?
I feel like we're playing with a chip on our shoulder. Coming off last season, we didn't play as well as we usually do. So I feel like this year we're playing with a chip on our shoulder. We have something to prove, and just trying to go out there and compete each and every a weekend, and just showing what Troy defense is all about.
I think we may have asked you this earlier in a press conference, but you go up against a lot of talented wide receivers as well. How does that make you guys better on the defensive side of the ball going up against this receiving?
You talking about our receivers?
How does it make you better going against receivers?
Oh, I feel like I know we got the best receivers in the conference. So if I can go against them each and every day at practice, I know I have confidence in me and my teammates that we can go out there and compete against any other receivers in the conference.